Welcome back to the second half of week 3. Today we're going to be working on an ATST that we saw um, from the Imperial side during the Battle of Endor. So let's go ahead and get started on that. I'm going to go ahead and pull up that reference photo. This one's going to be a little bit different because I have chosen a photo that doesn't have super high resolution. Okay. So, which means some of this is going to have to be straightened out. So, and this looks like it's actually another drawing, or at least the piece is turned into an animated piece. So, let's go ahead. First, I want to make the rectangular box that's here. Okay, so I'm making the rectangle. It already has that set up for us. It has very similar legs to the AT that we saw, the AT that we saw last week, but it's more bird-like than the turtle style walker we saw the other day. So the joints are going straight back and then coming straight down. So that's a little bit of a difference. It looks like from this photo, so I've made this rectangle here. So if I put a line straight over to the other line, this is the top half is just completely all of the complicated stuff, and the bottom half is just the bottom half of the legs. So we're going to do as much as we can on the first half part here because I don't like the videos to be longer than an hour. So we're going to get as much of this done in an hour as we can. I have a feeling we may be able to do all of it because we almost got all of our act done in an hour. So let's go ahead and get started with this. The way I am going to chop it when I bring it into my other program is with this rectangle. I am going to be doing it like this. So let me clear this selection, and I'm going to go to my program here, which is just the Apple program. Get my little pen, and I'm going to go ahead and draw those splits. So here's my pen. So my first split is from here to here. That's really wide. Let me see if I can make that. This is the way it's going to have to be. And make it smaller. Yes, I think I can. Let's try that again. Oh, still big. Okay. Oh wait, no, here it is. There we go. That's a really thick line. I can't see the draw. Let's try this again. There we go. Nice thin line there. And then I'm going to do a regular split just from this top part, just like that. So that's going to be my grid this time. If you want to split it more, I would suggest splitting it in the middle here. Oh, right there. We can go ahead and do that. And then halfway down right here. So very similar to the speeder bike that we did the other day. Just try to get that halfway. I do want to make this one a bit bigger. So let's go ahead. Let's see, the measurement that I have on the computer here, it's about 5.5 by 3.25. That's super small. So I'm probably going to double that to make it a little bit bigger. So let's go ahead and stop this share and pin our drawing page. Okay. So I want to make it a pretty good size. Like, with our ad, it was almost going off the page, right? I like to be able to draw bigger to get more details. And the speeder bike, it just seemed a little small. So I'm going to go ahead and see how tall I want this to be first. So let's do some math. I'm going to flip my page over and do some math. So that was 5.5 inches tall by, draw this darker so that you can see. 5.5 inches tall by 3.25 inches wide, okay? So I want to make this larger. So what I want to do is maybe I can try to double the size and see how big that would be. So I'm going to multiply both of these by 2. So what that's going to be is this is going to be 11 inches, and this one is going to be 6.5 inches, okay? Let's see if we have enough room on our paper to make 11 inches. I'm not sure this paper is 11 inches long. This paper is exactly 11 inches, okay? So yeah, we can do that. It might go off a little bit, but we definitely have 6.5 inches across. So I'm going to go ahead and go big on this one and do that. If you think that is too big for your paper, then you just change this number right here, okay? So if you wanted to make it, say, I might do that too. So I'm just going to say 1.75 bigger, okay? Not a full 2. That way his head is not going off the page. So 5.5 and 3.25 here. So 1.75 times 5.5. Just for the sake of being quick and not having to do longhand, I'm going to use my calculator. So 1.75 times 5.5. Okay, so we've got 9.625, and I'll show you what that is in just a minute. And then the other one, 1.75 times 3.25. It's going to be 5.687. Okay. So I like to use decimal places. You can definitely use fractions as well. So what this would look like in fractions is you've got 9 3/4. 6.625 is 3/4. 0.5 is half, and 0.25 is a fourth. So if that helps you, and then 625 is 3/4. So it would be 9 3/4. And as far as 687, let's look at our calculator here. So remember, we're adding 1.75. So, we're not adding, I'm sorry, for multiplying right now. So if we've got 5, so here's 3/4. We know it's more than 3/4. So all of these are, see, here's 2, 5, half, and this. So you could go in here and say, it could either be, see, these are fourths, it can either be an 1/8 or it can be a 16th. So what is the fraction? Right now I'm just searching online. What is the fraction for 0.687? 0.687 is going to be 11/16. See, that was just a super quick search there. You don't have to be perfect at math to do this. So 5 and 11/16. So if we go to the 5, we just count the little dots because there are 16 lines on an inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is half. So half would be 8/16. So 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so it's 1 under the 0.25, 625. 8, 9, 10, 11. So right there. So that's if you want to be super precise. All right. So what we're going to do here is I am going to do this number. And again, fractions might be easier here since we're broken up. And that's not usually a number. We don't usually think in 16ths. At least I don't. So 9 3/4 and 5 and 11/16. So I'm going to write that up here. 9 3/4 and 5 and 11/16. So with that, I'm going to take my ruler, try to get a good median here. So it's okay. Now right there. It's really okay. I'm just going to make really light marks. I'm not going to make a whole line because I want to also even up the 5 and 11/16. Just roughing this out here. Right there. Light marks. That way I can try to get it as much centered as I can. All right, so here I go. I'm going to come down to 3/4. Evening out my ruler. Do this very, very lightly. Remember, because we're doing this very lightly so that we can erase it when we're done. But also, it may not be perfectly straight the first time. It's coming down to 9 3/4. If you guys need a specific tutorial on how to use a ruler, please let me know and I would be glad to make a separate video for that. Just let me know. All right, so my starting point is up here. I'm going to come across to the 5, and then 8, 9, 10, 11. Make a line there. I already know that this line is not straight. See how it's skinnier up here and a little wider down here? That's okay. We will straighten it out in just a moment. So I'm going to make this one as straight as I can, and then we will see how far off we are. One way to fix this is to have a T-square ruler. That's a ruler that is shaped like a T. That will get your 90-degree angles perfect. I don't have a T-square ruler, however, it is on my wish list. But right now we're just trying to get it as accurately as we can with what we have. So 3/4 here. That one actually looks a lot more straight than the other one. See, that looks super wonky. So now what we need to do is we need to come, I'm going to measure how far this one is. So this one is 1 3/16. So I'm going to do that. I am way off. I'm 1 1/2 right here. So I'm going to go ahead and make that 3/16 dot down here. So that's the line we're going for. Over here, just testing. Guys, this is perfectionism at its worst or at its best. You decide. You can totally skip this part if you could care less if it's perfect. That one's pretty near on. So I'm gonna leave that alone. It's this one that's off. So before we move on, I'll use my old eraser here. I'm shaking the whole table to erase this line. I should measure first. Possibly if I measure first. And then we're gonna redraw this line a little more even. Lightly coming down. And then when we measure across, it should be pretty close to 5 and 11/16. There it is. It's only off 8, 9, 11. It's off by about 2. And that is okay. So I'm going to go ahead and make my line. I could spend all day doing this. I could have done it a different way, but just trying to get, you know, nice basic rectangle here. There's not a lot of anything in this area anyway. So, all right, so now what we were going to do is we were going to break this straight down the middle. So we need to find half of 9 3/4. So 9.625 divided by 2 is 4.8. So almost 5. Okay. It's going to be almost at the 5. So, about right there, maybe. Almost at the 5. Even if these aren't perfect, like we did on the other ones, we didn't even do this, and they still turned out like really cool looking. So you don't even have to measure if you don't want to. You can totally eye this. So if I eyed it, the middle looks like it's about right there. Looks like it's about right there. Awesome. All right, so that's our 4 quadrants. Now if I wanted to do another half, I just eye the center of those rectangles, eye the center of these 2 rectangles, and put them together. And that's exactly what I did on the computer. Just eyeing it and drawing them in. And like I said, since we're just practicing, these boxes don't have to be perfect, which I say these are probably pretty close. So there we go. Let's get to the actual drawing part. I'll probably put in the description when we're going to actually start the drawing. But I want you guys to see my whole process when I'm drawing these things. For precision graphs, or, you know, they're easier to use. So I have my whole page here, and we're going to do our best to do this. So we're already 24 minutes in of me doing this garbledy-goop here. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I notice is that the top part here is pretty well smack dab in the middle. And then it's coming down a little past halfway over here. Just a little past. On this side, here's the halfway point here. That's a little in from that side. So that's how big our head is going to be. You can see that. Now, this part is coming down about a third of the way. So if I chop this into thirds, 1, 2, 3, it's coming down about a third of the way. So that's how far we're going to come down there. And then it's going to dip down to the bottom third over here. So here's a third, here's a third. It's going to dip down to about right here. And it's going to connect right in there like that. So we're getting boxy here now. Getting boxy. That's coming all the way down too. So here's our head box, okay? Our piece of marble that we're going to chip out into the shape that we're going for. It's not an exact box, right? We did thirds. So we've got a box and then this shape here at the bottom. So let's go ahead and start with this since we've got that drawn. I'm gonna sharpen my pencil to empty out my pencil sharpener. Okay. Nice sharp point there. Okay. So this is coming up out right here. And it's gonna curving down. Out like that. Very lightly, guys. Very, very lightly, because we're going to be chiseling away at this. And a lot of these lines are going to go. Okay, so I want to see very light drawing on this first part. All right, coming across to this side. It's about the same on this side as it is on this side. So the same distance from here as from here. So when we get to that point, we're coming down in a little angle. Turn this to the side so I can get my third. So 1, 2, 3. So we're got a little angle coming here. This angle is going to be the same. I'm going to draw these thirds all the way across so I can make sure to get it even here. See that cross point into that third. Again, a third is 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. That's thirds in this box, and that's how this HEST is looking. All right. It's got a little squiggly part here, which we will take care of in the shading. And now I can erase the point of that box at the top, as well as those thirds. So we have the top. And actually, this squiggly part is more so like this. This part okay, so I am going to make a little line here just for myself. And then it's coming all the way down. All right, this guy coming to here. Just looking at it again. Coming up just a tad. And then we're just going to go straight up with it. So this looks like it's also at a third. So we already drew, see, it's really even that line there. So if not even, very close to it. So I'm just going to draw that little mouth type opening. And there's very little on this side. Coming down. Okay. Got that. It's going to be back to. All right. It does look like this is going back at an angle, but that's actually the shading. It's not the piece itself. So we'll draw that detail in just a moment. If we have time, if we don't have time, we'll do that on the shading part. So now I'm just erasing my extra lines before I move on, erasing the lines that I don't need to move forward. So this one, right where it needs to be, I'm going to go down. Right in the center of this line here is where we're going to start one of the ears. So I want to go ahead and stick that out here. Oops, it's too far up. I said it was in the middle and then I drew it differently. So I've got this ear sticking out right in this center point here. I haven't erased this third because I have a feeling I'm going to need that in just a moment. I may not, but that's why I have not erased that. So we've got one of our ears here. It's really cool that that's right on the line because it makes it easier for us. This is actually going to come out almost all the way to the end of that rectangle here. Okay. I'll erase that line in the middle of that. Okay. Coming to the cross section here, and a little bit in, we're going to have a little oval, and then that's going to be surrounded by a much larger oval up to that third. So we need the third. All the way down, almost to the bottom part here. Okay. Erase on the inside of that. And then coming out from that, coming down, there is a piece here. Coming down from that circle. Okay. Okay. And there's other little details. Add in there if you'd like. Okay. Coming to the piece, there's actually a line straight up from this, and then I'm going to the center. Back of the head. This is not a straight line down, but it's also not a very deep angle coming down. So I'm going to come in about right there, and then come back out for our down part here. Okay, angle itself down till we connect to these. And then there's another piece right here. Okay. This piece right here is actually doesn't seem like it's that long. So I'm just going to do a little chop here. Just because my eye, or what I'm seeing, is not that long. So it's going to do a little chop on that one. Shorten it a little bit. Probably wasn't exactly a third. Okay, or something else is a little bit off, but the proportion that I was seeing in the picture is not the same as what I had drawn. What I had drawn looked too long, so I went ahead and fixed that, which means I can adjust this shape right here as well. Okay, so that looks much better. Okay, let's go ahead and do the eyes. After I do this, sorry. Okay, let's go ahead and do the eye part. Keep saying this and then I go back and fix something else. Okay, so we've still got this line right here at the top. So the straight line, I mean, not the squiggly one. And what I want to do for this is go down halfway. So we've got our box, right? This is our main box. I am going to go ahead and erase that third so it doesn't get in the way of our half. So I'm going to chop the box in half instead. So chopping it in half goes straight through the center of our eyes. So it's almost like you're drawing a human. The eyes are in the center of the head, so that the line goes straight through the center. It's almost like that. Not quite, but almost. So right above that, it's gonna eye where these eyes go. Maybe about there. And this one's going all the way to the end here. Okay. And then there's this square in between the two eyes. Hold your breath. Coming down. I'm just going to do this lightly. Man. The erasers are getting to me. Okay. Just going to do this a little bit to try to get these angles right here. On the picture, these two shapes look very different from each other. So even though they're technically the same shape in real life, the angles that they're at make them look like two completely different shapes. Two trapezoids, but two very different kinds of trapezoids. And I'm looking at the place that it falls around the other lines that we have drawn. So this one is sticking out past, and this one is kind of digging into this little square that we just drew. So that helps me know that I've got my angle right. Now on this part, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to draw. Cheat as in, we're going to have to go ahead and do a shading part here, just to make it a little more simple. I'm going to go a little past it. I'll go ahead and do a shading there. We're going to do the same thing here. This is just a shadow. Once you get your shadows where you want, please feel free to go ahead and shade those in. That is a darkest dark. Okay. See how far on our time we are here. Okay, we got 15 minutes. Okay. So, looking good so far. Got our two little eyes up there. It's going to look a lot better once everything else is shaded. So what I want to do now is come down, make a line coming down from this corner up here. Before I do, I'm going to erase this middle line. I believe we are done with that. Erase some lines here to start some cleanup. From this corner, okay, so our corner is about right here. What we're going to do is we're going to come down almost completely to about right here. Okay. This is a very light line because we are going to shade it later. We don't want it to be a dark line. So there you go. See that coming down? Now I want to do the same thing over here just to make sure we get our proportions right. So I can make sure to get this guy the correct shape. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to erase this middle line here. I'm going to pull up on this part just a little bit. This might be the first week, other than the AT-AT, where the shading part is going to be equally as long as the drawing part. I think there are some days when I feel more confident and I draw a lot more quickly. And then there are some days when I feel like I need every tip in the book to get it done. I think this is one of those days, which is why it's taking so long. But I also want you guys to see my actual process. So we've got the head. The head is where it needs to be. I've got a few more minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and draw the turrets here on the inside. It's another little square, so this shouldn't be too difficult for you. Adjusting as you go. So I may have actually had that pretty close to correct the first time I did it. Just didn't feel that way. All right. Looking carefully. One line at a time. Experimenting with some different ways to do this. I think I like that one better. Okay. Okay. Some guys sticking out in this direction. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and pop this guy out here, this little leg. It's coming down around here. It's very interesting how these do look so much like. Well, I think a lot of vehicles are compared to animals. I think that's interesting. All right. We're going to give this a break and we will pick it back up in the shading section. All right, so there's part one. And just like last time, we'll finish the legs in the shading section.